What happens after the last breath? Does the self dissolve into emptiness, or does it cross portals beyond human comprehension? Welcome, soul traveler, to the mystery of mysteries. Today we delve into one of the most profound and enigmatic texts of Tibetan Buddhism, the Bardo Thodol, widely known in the West as the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Imagine a guide that accompanies you through the deepest and most mysterious moments of existence. This is the role of the Bardo Thodol. It's not just a manual on the end of life, it's a map, a spiritual guide to what happens right after death. Together we'll cross this portal, unravel its messages, and perhaps grasp a deeper understanding of what it means to exist. The Bardo Thodol was created by Padmasambhava, a legendary and almost mythical figure in Tibetan Buddhism. Born in India, he is credited with bringing Buddhism to Tibet in the 8th century. Tibetan tradition reveres him as Guru Rinpoche, or Precious Master. Padmasambhava wasn't merely a monk. He was a profound spiritual master and yogi who mastered mystical techniques and esoteric teachings. The Bardo Thodol emerged from his desire to guide both the living and the dead, offering a path to liberation, even beyond the last breath. From a young age, Padmasambhava exhibited extraordinary mystical abilities, earning recognition as a Mahasiddha, a spiritual master with miraculous powers. He was invited to Tibet by King Trisong Detsen, who sought to expand Buddhism and unify the nation under a single belief system. At that time, Tibet was deeply rooted in shamanic practices and the animist Bon religion, presenting challenges to Buddhism's spread. Padmasambhava faced resistance from Bon practitioners and local deities. Using his mastery of magic and tantric rituals, he integrated Bon traditions into Buddhism, establishing a unique spiritual foundation. This synthesis culminated in the founding of Sami Monastery, Tibet's first Buddhist monastery. There, Padmasambhava shared profound teachings on the mind, reality, and the cycle of existence known as samsara. In Tibetan Buddhism, death is seen as a transitional state, a chance for spiritual liberation. Padmasambhava understood that at the moment of death, the mind, free from physical distractions, becomes more receptive to ultimate truth. He recognized this as a unique opportunity for liberation, yet he also knew that most people, overwhelmed by illusions and fears, miss this chance. To address this, he created a guide to be recited by the living for the dying or studied during life. This guide prepared the mind for the bardos, the transitional states after death. At its heart, the Bardo Thodol is an expression of compassion, aiming to ease suffering and unlock enlightenment, even when all seems to dissolve. Padmasambhava believed that even if enlightenment is not achieved in life, death offers one last opportunity. He offered instructions for recognizing the clear light, the pure manifestation of the mind, at the moment of passing. His teachings remain a beacon of hope and guidance, illuminating the mystery of what lies beyond the final breath. As the Bardo Thodol guides us through the liminal spaces that arise after death, it speaks of the soul's passage through three distinct bardos: the Chikai Bardo, Koniad Bardo, and Sitpa Bardo. Each bardo offers a different state of being, a unique opportunity for the soul to confront its own illusions, attachments, and karmic residues. As we venture further, we may begin to grasp the depths of the Tibetan Buddhist view on death, rebirth, and the ultimate liberation that transcends it all. In the first stage, the Chikai Bardo, the soul faces the moment of death, where the body dissolves and the mind becomes unencumbered by physical form. It is said that during this time, the soul encounters the experience of the clear light, the ultimate essence of the mind, which transcends dualistic concepts of good and bad, life and death. For those who can recognize this clear light, liberation is possible. In the Koniad Bardo, the soul experiences a series of vivid visions, often guided by karma and emotional attachments. These visions can range from peaceful and blissful to terrifying and chaotic, reflecting the inner state of the soul. It is here that the soul may encounter deities, demons, and other apparitions, some benevolent, others intimidating. The teachings of Padmasambhava suggest that recognizing these visions as projections of the mind, rather than external realities, is essential for the soul's progress toward liberation. Finally, in the Sitpa Bardo, the soul is drawn toward the choice of its next life, guided by karmic tendencies. In this state, the soul's desires, fears, and unresolved attachments determine the circumstances of its future rebirth. The Bardo Thodol emphasizes the importance of maintaining awareness and detachment during this phase, as it is the final opportunity to break free from the cycle of birth and death. It is said that those who are prepared, those who have practiced meditation, reflected on their own mortality, and cultivated awareness during life, may transcend the need for rebirth altogether, merging into the clear light and achieving ultimate liberation. The Bardo Thodol is not just a religious text or a compendium of esoteric beliefs. It is a spiritual tool for self-understanding and a map for navigating the greatest mystery of existence, the transition between life and death. It teaches that life and death are not separate, but interwoven, each moment containing the seeds of both. The teachings urge us to recognize the impermanence of all things, to embrace the transient nature of our existence, and to cultivate a deep awareness of the mind's capacity to shape our experiences. Through the guidance of the Bardo Thodol, we are invited to reflect on the nature of our desires, fears, and attachments, not only in preparation for death but as a means to live more fully in the present. For, in the end, death is not an end at all but a continuation, a crossing into the unknown. And perhaps, just perhaps, through understanding the mysteries of death, we can begin to understand the deeper truths of life itself. But where does this journey take us? What awaits on the other side of the veil? Does it offer a final rest, or does it open to an infinite expanse of spiritual realms that challenge all our preconceptions? The Bardo Thodol offers no final answer but invites us to explore, through the lens of death, what it means to live, to evolve, and to transcend. And as we traverse the mystery of existence, we may come to realize that the journey itself is as significant as the destination. Let us walk further into the unknown, letting the mysteries unfold. The Bardo Thodol guides us through three primary states, or bardos, that every soul traverses. The Chikai Bardo is the moment of death. Here, the soul experiences the transition as the physical body dissolves and consciousness is freed from its material constraints. Once this dissolution is complete, the soul encounters the primordial clear light, described as a dazzling, pure, and immense radiance. The clear light represents the absolute nature of the mind, a state of pure, unconditional consciousness where duality, fear, and attachment cease to exist. Some call it the higher self or the solar mind, but all names point to a state of totality and infinite peace. For a spiritual practitioner, the Chikai Bardo presents the opportunity for final liberation. If the soul recognizes the clear light as part of its essence, it attains instant liberation, achieving nirvana without needing to pass through the subsequent bardos. This recognition doesn't rely on rituals or doctrines. It's a direct, unfiltered experience of truth where the mind sees itself without distortion. In this state, all conditioning, karma, and identities dissolve completely. However, for those unprepared, the intensity of the clear light can be overwhelming and even frightening. Instead of recognizing it as their true nature, the mind may perceive the light as a threat due to fear or attachment to the familiar. In such cases, the soul retreats, missing the chance for liberation. It then moves into the next stages of the bardos, encountering increasingly distorted and limiting visions shaped by its karmic tendencies. In the Coniad Bardo, the soul enters a stage of vivid, often bewildering experiences. Here, the soul confronts a vast array of visions, both peaceful and wrathful, which represent its accumulated karma, unresolved fears, and emotional attachments from its lifetime. These experiences can be serene and filled with light or chaotic and filled with terrifying apparitions. The peaceful deities embody wisdom and clarity, while the wrathful ones symbolize destructive forces and unresolved tensions. For those who are prepared, the Coniad Bardo offers a second opportunity to recognize the nature of these visions as mere projections of the mind. In this state, one can either choose to be engulfed by the fear and confusion or rise above it, recognizing the illusory nature of the projections. It is here that liberation is again possible, as the soul can begin to transcend the limitations of its past attachments and karmic imprints. Yet, for most, the intense emotional charge of these visions can easily lead them astray, reinforcing their karmic cycle rather than breaking free from it. Finally, in the Sitpa Bardo, the soul enters the phase of transition toward a new life. The soul is drawn toward rebirth, influenced by its deepest desires and unresolved karmic patterns. The Sitpa Bardo is marked by a pull toward the conditions of future existence, whether in the form of a new body, relationships, or circumstances that will fulfill the soul's unresolved cravings. This stage is particularly crucial because it is here that the soul's attachments and desires fully shape its future. If the soul is able to recognize the mechanisms of attachment and craving, it can step outside the cycle of rebirth, breaking the karmic bonds that tie it to future suffering. However, if the soul is unaware or overwhelmed by its desires, it may find itself once again caught in the cycle of birth and death. Each of these stages represents a pivotal moment in the soul's journey, a chance to break free from the chains of samsara, the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Yet, the Bardo Thodol teaches that liberation is not guaranteed. It requires awareness, preparation, and the recognition of the nature of one's own mind and attachments. For most souls, the journey through the bardos is one of continued evolution, with each life offering another opportunity for growth and self-realization. As we journey through these bardos, we are invited to reflect on our own lives and the ways in which our desires, fears, and attachments shape our experiences. The teachings of the Bardo Thodol encourage us to approach life with the same awareness and mindfulness that we would hope to bring to the moment of death. By doing so, we may begin to loosen the grip of our own karmic patterns and, perhaps, move ever closer to the ultimate freedom that lies beyond the cycle of rebirth. But as we explore the bardos, one question remains: what lies beyond them? What happens after the soul has moved through these stages, and what awaits it on the other side? Does the soul find liberation, or does it continue its journey into realms beyond comprehension? The Bardo Thodol offers a profound glimpse into the process of death and rebirth, but its teachings leave us with more questions than answers, inviting us to continue seeking, exploring, and understanding the mysteries of existence. The Coniad Bardo is known as the Bardo of Visions. As Carl Gustav Jung suggested, gods and demons are projections of the unconscious, powerful and unavoidable until understood as parts of ourselves. In this state, the soul, free from its physical body, exists in a dimension where boundaries dissolve. Here, it encounters projections of its own mind, which can appear as angelic forms or frightening visions. These projections reflect the soul's repressed desires, fears, and accumulated karma in intensified forms. The visions manifest in two stages. Peaceful visions. The soul first encounters serene and enlightened figures such as Buddhas, bodhisattvas, or deities of light. These figures embody the positive qualities cultivated by the soul. Despite their peaceful nature, an unprepared mind might find these visions overwhelming or doubt their reality, leading to retreat. Wrathful visions. If the peaceful visions are not recognized for their essential nature, the soul encounters wrathful deities. These intense forms reflect anger, fear, and repressed desires, appearing monstrous and unsettling. However, they are not external forces but manifestations of the mind, representing passions and attachments that bind the soul to the cycle of suffering. The Coniad Bardo is a state where the mind, unrestrained by physical limitations, experiences its internal energies in their purest form. These visions resemble dreams but are strikingly vivid and clear, as the soul perceives its accumulated tendencies unfiltered. These visions offer opportunities for enlightenment, as they represent aspects of the self needing integration or transcendence. Souls maintaining awareness can recognize that both peaceful and wrathful visions are creations of the mind. This realization dissolves fear and leads to liberation. The Bardo Thodol advises focusing on the clear light, the primordial essence of the mind. This vast, pure radiance is the ultimate truth, representing the innate nature of all beings. Recognizing the clear light allows the soul to transcend the visions and achieve enlightenment. However, this recognition is challenging for most, as the visions often feel profoundly real and meaningful. To prepare for this bardo, spiritual practitioners are encouraged to train in detachment from illusions and contemplate the mind's true nature. By doing so, they can remain focused on the clear light even amidst the intensity of the Coniad Bardo, finding peace and liberation. Fear and attachment are the greatest barriers in this stage. Wrathful visions may provoke fear, while peaceful visions may create attachment. Both reactions keep the soul bound to the cycle of samsara. To overcome this, the soul must recognize the visions as empty of inherent reality, a concept known in Tibetan Buddhism as shunyata or emptiness. Understanding emptiness allows the soul to observe the visions without attachment, seeing them as temporary expressions of its nature. The Coniad Bardo is not a punishment but a phase of revelation, a mirror reflecting the soul's mind. It tests readiness for liberation, distinguishing those prepared to transcend the cycle of rebirth from those who must return to deepen their learning. The nature of these visions is not to trap or ensnare the soul but to reveal its true nature through intense reflection. Each encounter in the Coniad Bardo serves as a mirror, each peaceful figure an invitation to embrace the virtues of the soul, and each wrathful form a challenge to confront and integrate the unresolved parts of the self. If the soul can hold steady, discerning the true essence of the visions, it may come to understand that the entire experience is rooted in the mind's projections. The Coniad Bardo thus provides a space for deep self-reflection and transformation, where illusions dissolve and the soul can begin to glimpse the boundless clarity that lies at its core. However, those unprepared, those unable to relinquish their attachments, may find themselves overwhelmed by the intensity of the experience. The peaceful visions, with their radiant beauty and profound stillness, can evoke a longing to hold on to them, creating attachment. Likewise, the wrathful visions, filled with chaos and fear, can lead to the impulse to escape or fight, reinforcing the very emotions and desires that prevent liberation. The soul's path through the Coniad Bardo is, in essence, a journey through the layers of its own consciousness. It is not a separate realm but an inner space where the mind confronts its projections in the rawest and most immediate form. This makes it a deeply personal experience, one that is shaped by the soul's past actions, emotions, and thoughts. But if the soul can recognize that all these visions are transient and not separate from its own nature, liberation is within reach. The teachings of the Bardo Thodol encourage practitioners to be vigilant, to practice mindfulness, and to cultivate a deep awareness of the nature of reality throughout their lives. This preparation helps ensure that when the soul faces the Coniad Bardo, it can face its visions not with fear or attachment but with the clarity to see them for what they truly are, reflections of its own mind. As the soul navigates this stage, it must remember that its experience is not separate from the cosmic whole. Everything is interconnected, and every vision is a mirror reflecting the divine nature of the universe. In this sense, the Coniad Bardo offers the soul a profound opportunity to realize its own infinite potential. But as the soul moves forward through the stages, it must ask itself, what comes after the visions? Is there more to experience? What is the ultimate destination of this journey through the bardos? What awaits beyond the veil of the mind's projections? The teachings of the Bardo Thodol offer glimpses into these mysteries, but the journey itself, with all its visions and revelations, remains an ongoing process, one that transcends the limits of our understanding. The Sitpa Bardo or Rebirth. In the Sitpa Bardo, the final stage, the soul faces a crucial moment, choosing its next body. This decision is shaped by the accumulated energy of all actions, thoughts, and intentions, what we know as karma. The entire journey thus far leads to this pivotal point, where what we carry within determines our next destination. Entering this bardo, the soul has already undergone dissolution in the Chikai Bardo and confronted its projections and illusions in the Coniad Bardo. Now, it reaches a state of greater psychic density. Here, the desire for rebirth intensifies, fueled by unresolved fears and attachments. According to Tibetan Buddhism, this desire compels the soul to seek a new form of existence. In the Sitpa Bardo, karmic inclinations, subtle marks left by past actions, act as magnetic forces. These draw the soul toward circumstances and experiences that reflect its inner state. For instance, a soul burdened with fear might gravitate toward a rebirth where it must confront those emotions. Similarly, intense desires and unchecked emotions create an energetic vortex, shaping the next life's conditions. The soul experiences visions tied to the rebirth process during this stage, often including images of couples in union, a metaphor for the creation of life. These visions guide the soul toward choosing a new body, a process unconsciously influenced by emotional tendencies and karmic impulses. The Bardo Thodol advises maintaining detachment and lucidity during these moments to avoid an undesirable rebirth. For those who can sustain calm and detachment, the Sitpa Bardo offers one last chance for transcendence. There remains the possibility of avoiding rebirth entirely, choosing liberation instead. The goal for spiritual practitioners is to see these visions as manifestations of their mind, ephemeral and empty by nature. Throughout this process, the pull toward a new body is overwhelming. The Bardo Thodol likens it to a psychic storm, with an irresistible urge to exist again. This choice isn't conscious but instinctive, shaped by the mind's state. The next body becomes a mirror of the soul's unresolved needs and lessons. Each rebirth, according to Buddhist teachings, is an opportunity for spiritual growth. However, many fail to recognize this and are reborn into adverse conditions, perpetuating suffering. Those who transcend this illusion may merge into the clear light, the mind's ultimate essence, avoiding rebirth entirely. Preparation for the Sitpa Bardo begins in life. By examining desires and fears, we become aware of the impulses shaping our destiny. Practices like meditation and reflection on death cultivate detachment, enabling the mind to remain unshaken by the dramas of this stage. The Sitpa Bardo reveals that life and death are interconnected, with rebirth being a reflection of our choices and perceptions. By releasing attachments, we free ourselves from the cycle of rebirth, reaching enlightenment, a state where rebirth ceases as the illusion of a fixed identity dissolves. The Bardo Thodol is more than a religious text. It's a guide for self-knowledge, offering insights into the nature of existence. It teaches that death marks the end of one chapter but also serves as a portal to new beginnings. As Ram Dass profoundly stated, when you die there is only one question that matters. How much did you love? The Tibetan Book of the Dead urges us to reflect on this question, preparing not only for death but also for living more fully. However, the Sitpa Bardo is a crucial juncture in the cycle of life and death, where the soul's next move is determined by the energy it carries. It becomes a reflection of the state of the soul's mind and heart. With its karmic tendencies shaping the future, the choices made in this bardo echo the unresolved matters of past lives and the unresolved desires that fuel the endless cycle of samsara. In this bardo, it is common to see souls drawn toward either specific types of life forms or situations that align with their previous karmic experiences. The karmic impulses act as subtle but powerful forces, creating an emotional pull toward particular environments, relationships, and circumstances. Some may be driven by unresolved grief, while others may be propelled by desires for power, wealth, or status. Each soul, with its unique karmic history, may find itself attracted to different forms of existence, and this attraction can significantly influence the type of rebirth it experiences. Visions that come to the soul in the Sitpa Bardo may also include representations of the past or future, as well as symbols that highlight areas of attachment and unresolved emotions. These symbols serve as guidance, helping the soul decide which path it will take next. The vision of a child's face, for instance, could symbolize the desire for a new life and a fresh beginning, while a vision of a loved one may reflect unresolved relationships or unfinished emotional business. Despite the intensity of these visions, the Bardo Thodol urges us to keep our awareness sharp, to maintain lucidity amidst the compelling emotions and visions. This awareness provides the opportunity to make a conscious choice, whether to return to the cycle of life and death or to transcend the cycle altogether. The teachings remind us that it is possible to break free from the cycle if the soul can detach from its desires and attachments, seeing the transient nature of all things. However, the temptation to return to life is powerful, and many souls are swayed by the allure of re-experiencing the material world. It is a moment of deep reflection, a time for the soul to face the consequences of its actions, desires, and attachments. Will the soul release its clinging, or will it be drawn back into the ever-turning wheel of rebirth? The teachings also emphasize that the process of rebirth is not a random or accidental event but a deeply personal one. The soul's journey through the Sitpa Bardo is shaped by its own choices, actions, and desires, which have accumulated over lifetimes. Whether the soul is reborn into favorable or unfavorable circumstances depends on how it has lived in the past. While this stage presents a powerful opportunity for liberation, it is not an easy task. The soul must confront the very nature of its own existence, seeing clearly that the drive for rebirth is rooted in the desire for continuity, comfort, and a sense of self. Recognizing the impermanence of all things, including the ego, is the key to overcoming this attachment and making the leap toward enlightenment. This recognition is not just intellectual but deeply experiential, requiring the soul to relinquish its attachment to identity, forms, and desires. For those who manage to cultivate detachment, the Sitpa Bardo provides a chance to break free from the cycle of samsara. By recognizing the visions as illusions and not being bound by the compelling urge to return to life, the soul can achieve liberation and avoid the limitations of rebirth. But for most, the pull of rebirth is too strong, and they are inevitably drawn into the cycle once more, continuing their journey of spiritual growth in the next life. Ultimately, the Sitpa Bardo serves as a crucial point of decision, where the soul's future is shaped by the very energy it has cultivated through all of its actions, desires, and thoughts. It's a powerful reminder of the deep interconnectedness of life and death, and the importance of living with awareness, intention, and mindfulness. This awareness can guide the soul not just in death but throughout life itself, helping to dissolve the attachments and desires that keep it bound to the cycle of suffering and rebirth.